Congratulate Papa Ken Cruz.
Yo. Thanks for the introduction. Glad to be back, guys. Never thought I'd say this, but I'm glad to be a team no sleep. It's worth every single second. And also, I like the run.
Hey, thanks, man. Hey, we designed this ourselves, you know what I'm saying? Congratulations, Papa Ken. Next, from Santa Rosa, Laguna, Philippines, we have Ben Bernaldes.
What's up, guys? Welcome to the show. Congrats, Ken. And also, we'd like to congratulate Aljamin for his new baby as well, a baby boy. Congrats, Aljamin.
Yeah, shout out.
I'm making a trend here. We're making a trend.
Shout out to the new dads. And last but not least, from Toronto, Canada, joining us today is Adrian Pangalina. What's up, bro?
Hey, what's up, EJ? What's up, guys? I'm kind of a veteran to this baby game. I'm only 32 years old. I got 3 kids.
Yeah.
My wife have another. Don't tell her.
Nah, go one more, man. One more.
He's trying to go for the basketball team.
Right. Oh, so 2 more. But thanks for joining me this week, y'all. And of course, just as a reminder to our viewers, we are by no means experts, rather a good group of friends who are huge fans of sports. Now, before we begin with our main topics, we have a few stories to share with you from all over the globe. First, some tennis news from Adrian. What do you have for us, man?
Hey, what's up, EJ? All eyes were on the U.S. Open final for an unlikely matchup of 2 improbable finalists, Britain's Emma Raducanu and Canada's Leylah Fernandez. There was much hype leading up to the match, with 150th ranked Raducanu being only 18 years old and the 73rd ranked Fernandez only 19. Yet, Fernandez was able to defeat 3 of the top 5 ranked women's players. The bout took place at the historic Arthur Ashe Stadium in New York, and fans got their money's worth at the conclusion of the tournament. Raducanu outlasted Fernandez, defeating her in straight sets, 6-4, 6-3, $2.5 million. What would you do with $2.5 million at 18 years old? Well, let's continue on. Raducanu had this to say about her opponent. She has played some incredible tennis and beat some of the top players in the world. It was a difficult match. I hope we play each other in many more tournaments and hopefully finals. This matchup represents well what the future of women's tennis may look like. And in the men's final, in a record 21st Grand Slam of his career, he'd been almost unstoppable all year long, claiming the first trio Grand Slam tournaments in the year. But his run would be put to an end by the number 2. Also won in straight sets. 6-4 was relentless as he chased every offer. Djokovic gave his congratulations. He was amazing. Just congratulate him. Full credit from his mentality, his approach, his game, everything. He was absolutely the better.
It's the NBA offseason. They're in point guard. It's obvious that Houston wants to focus on their young stars in Jalen Green and Kevin Porter Jr. And John Wall feels he still has plenty left in the tank to contribute to a team. The big challenge is Wall's massive contract that has him owed $91.7 million over the next 2 seasons. The Rockets don't want to give up first-round draft picks, nor do they want to buy him out. The good news is that both parties are on the same page and in good terms. Bad news is that it's going to take a desperate team to take John Wall's contract. In more positive news, the Denver Nuggets have chosen to keep the high flyer Aaron Gordon by signing him to a 4-year, $92 million extension. Now, it may seem like an overbuy, as Gordon will be the sides of the court to Denver management, bringing home a title within the Defensive Player of the Year, was released this past Wednesday after being traded to the organization by the Lakers. The deal included a 2024 second-round pick and cash from the Lakers, who received draft rights for center Wang Zelin. Below 5 points and 4.1 rebounds per game last season with the Lakers. He did have a bout with COVID, which dramatically affected his play, and then his relationship with the organization soured when they acquired Andre Drummond mid-season, which really limited his minutes. There's all plans to remain in Spain for the meantime. Rumors that it may join the Warriors as a last hurrah in the NBA. That's it for the week's NBA update. Back to you, EJ.
Thanks, Ken. And lastly, Ben has great news where another Filipino athlete has broken yet another record. Ben, what do you have for us?
That's right, EJ. Another EJ making a name for himself. Ernest John EJ Obiena has reset the Asian record for the highest leap in pole vault, en route to capturing the gold medal in the Golden Roof Challenge in Austria this week. Obiena breached past 5.93 meters, eclipsing the old continental record of 5.92 set by Kazakhstan Igor Potapovich in 1998. Obiena actually was not required to go for it, as the rest of the field were already eliminated from gold medal contention after 5.8 meters. But with the Asian record already within reach after finally getting past 5.9 2 weeks ago in the Diamond League Paris leg, he opted to attempt for Asian history again. Obiena missed out on his first 2 attempts, but in his final shot, he finally cleared 5.93 meters, etching his name in Asian pole vault history books. He was fresh from 4th place finish in Zurich earlier this weekend. Coming in at 2nd place is American Matt Ludwig, edging eventual bronze medalist Ursu Sasma of Turkey via tiebreaker. Both pole vaulters settled for 5.6 meters finishes, but Ludwig took the silver after clearing it on a 1 attempt, whereas Sasma needed 2 tries to clear the height. So EJ continues to improve his record, and hopefully in the next Olympics, he can deliver a gold medal. That's it for it, EJ. Back to you.
Thanks, man. EJ Obiena, congratulations from one EJ to another. We're definitely rooting for you and hope you'll make a good name for yourself, especially in the upcoming Olympics, man. Appreciate the stories, everyone. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we jump into all the action that the NFL has for us. EBC Sports International will be right back. Don't go anywhere.
Innovation. Digital micro, small, and medium enterprises, as well as large corporations, all of the market today. Peek into the world of exciting opportunities and partnerships to drive growth with the latest business news and information. We are open for business. Your weekly dose of entrepreneurial inspiration to update you on the latest developments in the world of business. Get up close and personal with CEOs and thought leaders to help you discover valuable insights. Sharpen your instincts for smart decision-making with the latest markets and economic trends, disruptive ideas, global innovation, social entrepreneurship, and other leading-edge business ideas. Join the conversations to create a more vibrant environment for entrepreneurship. Catch Open for Business from
Welcome back, everyone. Thanks for sticking with us. So much action now that it's football season. Week 1 officially kicked off last week, and there were a lot of new players on new teams, a lot of close contests, and there were a handful of upsets this past weekend. So let's jump right into it and discuss. Ken, I'm going to start with you, man. Matt Stafford and the LA Rams, he was able to lead them to a week 1 victory. And we know the NFC West, man, one of the toughest divisions in football. In fact, everyone in the division won their first game, so they're all 1-0. But based on the first game, and based on can the Rams take on the division title this year?
It's a very tough and loaded question. I got the stats. I always love bringing on some stats. So as mentioned, right, all 4 wins. And I think this is the first time since the merger for the NFL that the NFC West went 4-0 in week 1, right? 3 of these wins were on the road. The Rams obviously won at home. And each team covered the spread. So, and all the quarterbacks played very well, including Jimmy G from the Niners. I mean, that's pretty wild. I mean, I figured that he would be the weak link out of the 4 teams. Average points scored by the NFC West teams last week, 35.3, highest of any division. Average of 19 points allowed, lowest of any division. Average margin of victory, 16.3, also the greatest. So NFC 141-76. To say they were dominant week 1 is an understatement. It's absolutely insane. I hate it. It's kind of like how the baseball is going in our division for the Dodgers. I mean, it's just absolutely disgusting that the Dodgers can reach triple digits potentially in wins this season and still be a wild card team. It's absolutely insane. And there's a good chance that all four of these teams here for NFL in the NFC West can potentially make the playoffs too. It's one of those times where it's all about health in the NFL, right? And so if health is not a factor, all these teams have a great chance of making the playoffs. Now, back to my Rams, right? So, as you mentioned, Stafford being traded to looked like it looked like an overpay, right? With all that the Rams gave up. But when you saw this guy on the field, and you realize that the Rams may have gotten a value deal, because it's one of those things where he just looked like he was in the right place, and he would look like a kid in a candy store with all the weapons that he had. I mean, Kupp was his main target, 108 yards, 1 touchdown. He also had Van Jefferson, who no one really knew about, and he made him look like a star, 80 yards, a touchdown. Tyler Higbee, obviously big boy, 68 yards, and then you had Woods, not only 3 targets, 27 yards, but he also had a touchdown. I mean, he has more weapons than he's ever had, and I was surprised at how competent the O-line looked. And this is also without Cam Akers, who was a main running back that the Rams were very excited about coming into the season, and he's out for the season, right? So they're dealing with like a backup quarterback in Henderson, but I mean, Henderson's also still a great story. Stafford, 20 for 26, 329 yards, 3 touchdowns in his first game. And remember, none of these starters took any snaps in the preseason. So this was their first game together. And they just looked amazing. And they couldn't have done it better in their fresh new stadium. I mean, the Rams played there last year, but with no fans, right? I mean, I think that's something that was also something that it needs to be discussed, that the fans are back. And I think that makes a huge difference, because last year it was one of the first seasons where the away teams won more games than the home teams. And that's probably had to do a little bit about how there were no fans. Now, with the fans back, I think that plays into the home team's hands. And I think the Rams, with this new, fresh stadium, I mean, it's the Hollywood Rams. I mean, just like how the Lakers and Dodgers are, I think they're really playing into this. I mean, obviously the defense is what the Rams have been known for these last few years, and that's what's got them their divisional championships and also got them into the Super Bowl. But now that they have Stafford, and one thing I want to say about Stafford is that he is more of a partner with Sean McVay, who's like an offensive guru, than how McVay and Jared Goff were. Jared Goff was more like a student, and there were supposedly like differences between McVay and Goff that they didn't click. But these guys are like they look like friends. They look like they're having a great time. And supposedly both of them have photographic memory. And I think that really plays into how this team will be very successful, because they can talk football all day. They can talk schemes all day. And I think this is where they're going to be very dangerous, is that as they get more play time and as they see more field time, it's only going to get better, and they're going to continue to improve. And this was just week 1. I think they're going to even do better against the Colts this coming week. So I think they have, and so to answer your question, I think they have a great chance of winning the NFC West, but it's a star-studded division, and completely the opposite of your NFC East. Just FYI, you know.
Hey, it's NFC East is still hard to win, man. I'm telling you, it doesn't matter. It's literally competitive.
It's kind of the opposite, right? It's just kind of like, all right, how many games?
Upper tier.
Right, like it's like for NFC West, it's like, all right, like how many games can you lose in order to win the division? And then it's the opposite for NFC East, where it's just like, all right, how many games minimum
do you need to win, right?
do we have to
8
win
games?
in order to win? You know,
Exactly.
yeah, 8, 7, 6. I don't know. You know, like,
Exactly. Well, I'm saying 2 of the most competitive divisions in the NFL. But man, one stat for you that you didn't mention about Matt Stafford: 156.1 passer rating, the highest by any player
Yes,
in
sir.
NFL history in his debut with a new team. So really good stuff that Matt Stafford showed this past weekend, man. But Adrian,
Exciting.
I'll go to you next, man. Yeah, definitely exciting. Adrian, I'm gonna go to you next. The Browns, fast start and early lead against the Chiefs. Kansas City rallied back to defeat the Browns in week 1, right? The Chiefs took their first lead in the game in the fourth quarter, man, and was able to hold on in the final minute. So Baker Mayfield and the Browns, let me ask you, did they blow this win, or do you think Kansas City and Mahomes had the control completely, even though they were down the entire game?
Right, EJ. First, before I answer your question, I got to acknowledge, Ken, man, you got to be thanking the Detroit Lions every single day that they freed Matt Stafford. 'Cause, man, what a blessing that was to your organization.
Oh, yeah.
But EJ, back to you to answer your question. I mean, this is what the Browns do every year. They lose week 1. It's just taxes, death, and Browns losing week 1. It's just what they do. We all know it's not about how you start, it's how you finish. And the Browns didn't finish. They didn't execute when they had the opportunity to, and the Chiefs took advantage of that. Mind you, the Chiefs were not playing extremely well in the first half, but they have the ability to turn it on. And so if you want to beat the AFC champions, you got to give it to them. You can't have these mistakes like the Browns did, the fumbles, the interceptions. You really have to execute and be at your best if you want to be a Super Bowl contender. And that's what the Browns' aspirations are, right? They want to be not the losing franchise anymore. They want to be on the winning track. And losses like these kind of show you where you still are in the pecking order. They're still not at the same level as the Chiefs, I believe. Even though it was just one game, it's the first game of the season. The Chiefs have their number, and they've won 5 straight seasons, 5 straight games, including the last playoff game. The Browns, they need to execute in fourth quarter situations, and I think that's really what their season should be focused on, because I think playoffs is no question they'll be able to make it. It's a matter of executing in the closing moments.
Definitely agree, man. And when you play your first game against Kansas City, a lot of people expected them to lose anyway, but they were hot, man. It just looks like the Chiefs definitely have their number, man. But good take there. Ben, I'm going to go with you, man. Let's take it to New Orleans. Jameis Winston, obviously taking the starting quarterback job from Drew Brees. He leads the Saints to demolish the Packers, man. Like, crazy. Jameis played great, but let's focus on Aaron Rodgers, man. What are your thoughts on Aaron Rodgers' horrendous performance, and do you think that he'll be able to bounce back next game?
All right. First of all, EJ, I'd like to give a shout out to Jameis Winston. Jameis Winston era began. Life after Drew Brees got off to a great start against Aaron Rodgers' Packers. It's totally domination, 38-3 blowout against the Green Bay, 20 total attempts in 38 and just with 170 rushing yards. And to think that the Saints were the underdog in that game. Well, we look at Aaron Rodgers now. What should been the problem with his game, and we really don't know. Probably some of the issues that he's facing, probably some that he is wanting to retire or off to wanted to be traded to other teams. We really don't know what's going on, what happened in that game. But one thing's for sure, that Winston is really a great fit for the Saints. And will he be a great for the next coming weeks for the Saints? I think yes. And looking at his performance, 14 of 20 passes for 5 touchdowns. And of course, with his performance, I think it's a good start for the Saints. Now, are we looking at the Packers with Aaron Rodgers? I think there's gonna be probably, if the issues is not resolved, or if he doesn't focus on, and remember, he was a number one scorer last year. And it's very interesting to see how his performance, and in that game, he was replaced by the backup quarterback to finish the fourth quarter. I really don't know what's happening with Rodgers. I think he needs to bounce back in the next game.
100%. Yeah, no, I know there's a lot of distractions on the offseason. So, I mean, the guy is the reigning MVP, if I'm not mistaken. So he has to bounce back. He has to bounce back, especially after that like that bad offseason where, there was that big dispute between him and the Packers. But another trending topic today was actually Tom Brady. He was interviewed by Gronkowski, and in this interview, he said that he thinks he'll be able to play in the NFL till he's 50. Ben, I'm going to start with you, man. Do you think that this is really possible that he would be able to play till he's 50?
I'm a Brady fan.
Yeah.
I'm hoping he can play up to 50 years old. It's going to be the first in the NFL. And I think his contract with the Bucs ends in 2022. And and I watched the interview with Gronk, with I saw the setting. I don't know if you're going to be serious with the interview, but just listening to his response to Gronk's question, and he said, "I don't find it so difficult," and I think it's true. He's 44 years old right now, and he's really has taken care of his body and his health and his physique and his physicality. He can still play on a top level in the NFL. Also, if he has a great there's going to be a quarterback protection, and if that continues, I think he may be able to at least play the next three more years. But 50, I think he has to ask his wife for permission if his wife will allow him to play further until 50 years old.
Oh,
but 50, probably 50 is the new 40 right now.
For Tom?
But still.
I don't know, man. That's a quarter. Tough. Yeah, that's gonna be tough, man. Quarter century. If 50 years old, that's a quarter century, man. I think that's pretty much impossible. Ken and Adrian, do you guys agree? 50 is out of the question, man. There's no way this guy could play till 50, right?
I don't know. I mean, that's what we've been talking about. Tom Brady being old for 20 years now. So the guy is. If there's anyone that can do it, it's him. And really, all I think. I mean, not all, but I think the main factor of other than what he will do himself, right? He's gonna preserve his body. He's gonna have the best sports scientists behind him. I mean, it's a different time than it was 30, 40 years ago when sports science was not as advanced as it is now. But I think, as far as on the field, if he has a solid line that'll protect him, that'll keep him, in the pocket, from getting hurt, I think that's all it is, right? I mean, like a lot of these quarterbacks and just overall like long time football players retire because they just can't get up and play game after game anymore. And if he is preserved, and that's what their coaching staff are doing their best to do for him, he can play for however long he really wants. Because I mean, like, look at what he did last week against the Cowboys. The Cowboys look great. I mean, he threw 2 picks, but he got 4 touchdowns, 379 yards. I mean, and the dude is old, and so I really do feel like he has. If there's anyone that can do it, it's Tom Brady. I mean, like, I stopped doubting the guy after championship number 5, and he's at 7. So.
Right, exactly. Well, I mean, again, if this guy's taking hits at 50 years old, I think it just takes one hit. If the O-line does not protect him for one play at 50 years old, and he's
going to turn into dust. That's what's going to happen.
280. Right.
Just disappear.
Imagine if it was Aaron Donald. Imagine if it was Aaron Donald who got him too. Like, dude, like one hit at 50, that's it. He might be able to play one game at 50, but if he gets one hit, he's out. But let's take a quick break real quick, guys. And when we get back, we'll talk a little bit more football and a little bit of tennis and a little bit of basketball. So guys, don't go anywhere. EBC Sports International will be right back.
Sila ang mga kinikilalang bayaning may mahalagang papel para makamit ang kalayaan at pagbabago sa Pilipinas. Pero sa panahong ito, may mga bagong bayaning nakikipaglaban sa sakit na lumaganap sa buong daigdig, ang COVID-19. Ang ating mga frontliner, gaya ng healthcare workers, mga doktor, nurses, medical technologists, at iba pang health professionals, mga pulis, sundalo, security guards, mga tauhan na nangangalaga sa seguridad at mahahalagang pangangailangan ng bawat komunidad. Ang mga bagong bayani, ating pasalamatan. Kilalanin ang kanilang sakripisyo at serbisyo para sa lahat.
All right, welcome back, everyone. So let's stick to the NFL real quick. Week 2 kicked off last night, where my Washington football team narrowly defeated the New York Giants. Now, it was a close contest. It was a messy game, and the game was decided by a last-second field goal where the Washington kicker, Dustin Hopkins, had a second chance after missing the first attempts due to an offsides penalty by the New York Giants. The final score was 30-29. Washington. Now, sorry guys, I had to shout out my team, Washington, but let's lead that into week 2, right? So week 2 continues this weekend, and I picked the game for all of us to predict this weekend. So one of the better matchups featured 2 of the most elite quarterbacks in the league, Patrick Mahomes and Lamar Jackson. The Kansas City Chiefs versus the Baltimore Ravens. Jackson is 0-3 against Mahomes. So many are saying this is a must-win for the Ravens quarterback, especially after a heartbreaker loss to the Las Vegas Raiders in week 1 this past Monday night. So I want to get you guys take. You can give me your score if you want, but just let me know, who do you think is gonna win between the Baltimore Ravens and the Kansas City Chiefs this weekend? Adrian.
I'm gonna go with the Chiefs. The Chiefs have shown they are a resilient team in week 1, and in the past 2 seasons, they've just been able to compete to the very end of the game. As I alluded to in the Browns game, I do love Lamar Jackson. I do want to see him be successful. I just don't think he's had much success against Patrick Mahomes. As you said, he's 0-3 against the Chiefs.
Yeah.
I do think he'll fall to 0-4. It's probably going to be a low-scoring affair. I'm predicting 28-21 for the Chiefs.
Okay. All right. How about you, Ben? Who are you picking for this game?
Of course, Mahomes and the Chiefs. Definitely, and I think this year Mahomes wants to get redemption, and I think with his 100%. Game, right, losing to the Bucs last year, I think he wants to prove something and wants to win the MVP as well.
That's true.
And, the Chiefs. Mm-hmm. And the Chiefs have been a real thorn in Jackson's side in the past 3 years. In their 3 meetings, Jackson, the Ravens, and the Ravens are 0-3, 1 loss in each of the past 3 seasons. Now, after if they can change that record, if they win, and well, that's good for Jackson. But I think Mahomes wanting to maintain that and will go 0-4. Against the Ravens, Jackson's Ravens. And I will go with my prediction. It's going to be a close game. Probably 31-28.
Okay. All right. How about you, Ken? Do you think that the Ravens will finally get the edge over the Kansas City Chiefs?
That's big no, sir. Mahomes is Mr. September. Do you know that in his career, he is 11-0 in September, which is absolutely insane. 35 touchdowns, 0 interceptions And that's just an absolutely insane stat. I don't think this next game will be maybe the following week. But I mean, this game against the Ravens will not be the game that he loses in September. I mean, you guys talk about 0-3, but let's talk Patrick Mahomes 3-0. You know what the Chiefs have been averaging with Mahomes against the Ravens? 31.3 points per game against them, which means that they are just dominating these guys. And the Ravens, they blitz heavy, and that plays into Mahomes' game. I mean, the guy can move around. He's a mobile quarterback, and it sets him up for these long ball throws, and that's what Mahomes also does well. So it's just a bad matchup for Baltimore, unfortunately. And and also Mahomes is prime time. In prime time games, Mahomes has an 8-game winning streak. He performs well under the big lights, and that's why he gets all these commercials. That's why he's Mr. State Farm after Chris Paul. I mean, the dude just knows how to put on a show, and that's why people love him. I mean, Lamar Jackson too. Yes, absolutely. But I think Mahomes just does an amazing job of setting up his team and getting the wins where he needs the wins. And as I mentioned, it's just a bad matchup for the Ravens with Mahomes as their quarterback, unless they change up their entire defensive scheme, which I don't know that they're going to be able to do. I mean, you saw last week against the Raiders, they were just trying to blitz Carr all day. Worked, yes and no. But I mean, I think this is just one for a final score. I mean, if he's been averaging 31.3 against his Baltimore team, I think he's gonna go a little above this time around, 34 points. I mean, he's gonna have a way better performance in his first week. I mean, I think that what's happening now is the week one is going to be ugly football for everybody because more of the coaches are resting their players during the preseason because of the extra game that the NFL has now.
Right,
so
exactly.
I think more often than not in the future, you're going to see very ugly game one games. And then game two and on are going to be a lot more clean. And I think this is where, in this case, Mahomes is going to be a lot cleaner than he was in week one. And it's going to be 34, my guess, 34-20.
Wow. Okay. Well, then I guess it's the Chiefs all across the board for this week's prediction of the week. All right. So let's move on to tennis. So Adrian reported on this earlier, but now let's discuss it. There was so much history made at this year's U.S. Open for tennis in the women's division. Again, 2 teenagers stole the spotlight and put the world on notice for their stardom. And in the men's division, Novak Djokovic actually had a chance to complete the Grand Slam, but fell short once again in the end. I know we don't talk much about tennis, but Leylah Fernandez, a Canadian Filipino, definitely brought some excitement to a lot of us. So wanted to get your thoughts on her performance in the US Open. I'm going to start with the Canadian of the group. Adrian, how much excitement did Leylah bring to the country, man?
I appreciate that, EJ. It was slowly built and it was a wild ride. I'll say that. I work with a bunch of Filipinos in the hospital. And so following that journey along with them, it was like our version of the World Cup.
Right.
Every single game we tuned into, first it was Naomi Osaka, then it was 2 other top 5 ranked opponents. She just kept winning and winning and winning. And they were not like dominant wins all the time. A lot of the time she had to fight her way back, and she really showed her fight. And I think that's what the Filipino audience appreciates about her. She's small, she's a lefty, she has a kind of a frame that a lot of Filipinos can relate to. We should mention the fact that her father is Ecuadorian, and so she's not purely Filipino, but the fact that she's one of our own, Filipino, Canadian, I mean, that got us all excited. It was very disappointing, though, that she wasn't able to take home the victory. And of course, I mean, you get to the finals, you work that hard, you get all the recognition, and then you just fall short of your goal by just this much. It can be very disappointing.
Yeah, no, but honestly, so in the interview afterward, I think she presented herself really well. She spoke very eloquently and was not a sore loser about it. In fact, she upped herself and said, I'll be back again next year, and hopefully I'm carrying the right trophy. So definitely for us,
AJ,
very classy.
She was very classy. She paid tribute because they played on 9/11. She paid tribute to all of the New Yorkers and all the resiliency they've gone through the past 20 years. It was an amazing tribute that she was able to put together.
Exactly. Yeah. Before she accepted that trophy, she said, "Let me sneak in this one last thing." And it was a great point about resiliency, about the New Yorkers, and how she wants to emulate that type of resiliency, that even though she faced a pretty tough loss against an 18-year-old, who these two are going to be definitely the new faces of tennis, man. Naomi Osaka, and now it's going to be Emma and Layla. I mean, these guys look great. Emma won 20 straight sets, I think, the rest for the U.S. Open to actually win the title. She didn't drop a single set for 20 straight sets. It's crazy. So these guys are completely skilled, but we're definitely rooting for Layla on the next one, man. So Ben, I want to ask you, because was Layla making a huge splash over there in the Philippines because she was a fellow Filipino athlete?
Well, definitely, yes. Of course, they're rooting for her. But there was another Filipina who played as well. Her name is Alex Ayala. She reached the quarterfinals as well. But of course, we are also happy with a Filipino-Canadian went to the finals of the U.S. Open. And I think it's also very surprising in this year's tournament that the teens are really dominating and making a name for them. The last time that their 18 matchup in the U.S. Open was back in 1999. You know, when the young Serena Williams and also Martina Hingis. I remember that Martina Hingis was also one of my crushes during that era. and
shout out!
It was a great matchup as well. And these two teams have a great future ahead of them. You know, this is their career will be built, and we'll see more titles and their rank go up. And this is very surprising that these girls were not even in the top 100 in the rankings. But this year's definitely is going to change.
No, it's definitely exciting. Honestly, one of my my cousins, they were inspired so much by Layla that they put their daughter into tennis classes now at 4 years old. So they pushed her to go ahead and play because they were so inspired by the performance of Layla. So great takes, guys. But let's go ahead and talk some basketball. As Ken reported earlier, John Wall and Houston have agreed to find a new team. Now, John Wall was acquired by the Rockets less than 2 years ago after that blockbuster trade that brought Westbrook to the Wizards. Now, John Wall has been experiencing different injuries and limited him to only 40 games last year. However, when healthy, the guy is a 20-10 guy. All right, guys, so put your GM hat on. I'm going to start with you, Ken, because you reported on this earlier. Do you think that Wall is actually still a viable player and worth having on your team?
Well, it's tough, right? I mean, like it's kind of like a DeMarcus Cousins situation where he has the injury tag on him, right? I mean, it's kind of different from Anthony Davis, who's always hurt. Anthony Day-to-Day Davis, where has always has a little nick or injury. But I mean, like John Wall, along with like DeMarcus Cousins, has missed entire seasons, and at the age of 31, it becomes very challenging to be attractive to other teams because you just don't know when if or when your star player, which you're going to hope is John Wall, is going to be hurt or not, and that's a big gamble when you're looking at $45+ million per season for the next 2 seasons minimum, and it's just going to be very challenging. Or for anyone to give that. But if I'm going to put my GM hat on, I mean, there's the if you're thinking about a team that can make this work, it would probably be a 3-team deal. We're talking probably the Kings and the Philadelphia 76ers, right? I mean, the 76ers have a big contract with Ben Simmons, and you're talking, and it might line up, right? Where, Buddy Hield goes, to Houston, and then the Simmons goes to the Kings, and then Wall goes to the 76ers. But I mean, like, just think about it this way. I mean, like, if you were the 76ers, the downside to that is who's going to be hurt first, John Wall or Joel Embiid?
Yeah. Well, I mean, but the thing is, Ben Simmons doesn't want to be there. So they got to find a way to get Ben Simmons out, and John Wall's coming in.
Beggars can't be choosers.
Exactly. So, I mean, I think that's a great take. Honestly, I miss John Wall over here in Washington, man. He was a fan favorite. But again, that contract was just so big. I really like the spot that Washington is in right now with Spencer Dinwiddie, Bradley Beal, Kuzma, Montrezl Harrell, man. I'm pretty excited for Washington.
You guys got dogs.
Season.
You guys got dogs.
Yeah, man. We got some good players. So hopefully it's enough to convince Beal to stay there long term, because I definitely think that the Wizards made the best decision that they would surround Bradley Beal rather than John Wall in the franchise. But great take, man. Let's go ahead and take a quick break. And when we come back, we'll cap off with our question of the week. So don't go anywhere, guys. We'll be right back.
Ang kalamansi, tinaguri ang golden lime. Bukod sa kulay nito, bakit nga ba malaginto ang kahalagahan nito?
Sa pagkakalamansi kasi ang kita rito is talagang income generating siya. Ito para kang may ATM eh. Every 15 days may nakukuha kang pera. Ang pinakatrabaho mo lang dito, magpatubig, mag-fertilize. Yun lang. Parang sitting pretty ka lang.
Yan ang kalamansi. Hindi lang kilala sa vitamin C. Sikat din sa larangan ng pangkabuhayan at agri.
Kami-kami lang po muna yung gumawa. Hihiwa ng kalamansi, nagpipiga, nagluluto.
Nung nag-start ako magkaroon ng sabon, nagulat ako dun sa volume ng orders. Na po, nagtuloy-tuloy na siya hanggang sa napakarami na namin resellers. Umabot na po ng 1,100 na po yung members.
From 20 boxes po, naging 50 boxes a day na.
200 plus lang yung pinag-umpisahan naming sabon. Hanggang sa na-maintain na namin yung 10,000 pieces monthly, ma'am.
Ako po, si Robin Padilla. At ito po ang unlad. Kaagapay sa hanap buhay.
Hey sports fans, welcome back to EBC Sports International, the last section of the episode tonight. Now, we had a pretty good variety of topics tonight. We talked NFL, we talked tennis, we talked basketball, and basketball has a special place in our hearts. So we got to end with basketball, of course. This past weekend was actually a new class of Hall of Fame inductees entered into the NBA Hall of Fame. This includes Chris Bosh, Chris Webber, Paul Pierce, Ben Wallace, and others. So you guys, now it's the question of the week. We can't end the episode without it. Simple question this time, guys. Who's your favorite player of the 2021 Hall of Fame class and why? Ken, I'm going to start with you.
Even as hardcore, as you guys know, Lakers fan, it has to be Chris Webber. I mean, like, I just grew up loving Chris Webber, even though, I mean, I lived in Northern California for a good portion of my life, including when the Kings were at their height. And I still have not gotten back to that, sadly. I mean, I think Sacramento is a great place, and Chris Webber did an amazing job in Sacramento. I mean, he was one of those, like a passing big man that could score at will, great mid-range. if he played today, this guy would be an MVP candidate. I mean, he has today. He would excel in today's spread game, and being a passing big man. And I mean, like when he's a memeable guy, right? Well, he had that. Like one of his most memorable moment was calling the timeout that they didn't have when he was with Michigan in the championship game, and it just absolutely ruined the perception of his career. I mean, but at the same time too, he had a very respectable NBA career. I mean, I just love those matchups against the Lakers in the early 2000s. Yeah, they never beat the Lakers, thank goodness. And maybe there was some referee interference with that, I have to admit. But I mean, at the end of the day, like the guy's a legend. I love his game, and I think as far as he has a special place in my heart because those matchups were just amazing. I mean, the Sacramento Queens against the LA Lakers. Chris Webber. I think there was one shot. I forgot what. It was I don't know if it was game tying or like a game winning or put him a shot that put him ahead of the Lakers during one of the games, and he was like, he snarled at the crowd, and I was just like, oh man, I hate you, but I love you, bro. And so I think his Hall of Fame is well deserved for Chris Webber.
Yeah, and he's a great sports voice too for the NBA. Absolutely, he's great. Yeah, congrats to Chris Webber, former Bullet, by the way, back here over here in Washington. But how about you, Adrian? Who's your favorite player of this class?
Oh boy, it's a tough one. It's a great group of players. Considering who was inducted last year, 2020, we should say.
Tim Duncan.
This is a great group of players, and I don't know who you induct in the Hall of Fame next. It's going to be a significant drop off because this class is just so good. I could tell you a memory about all of them, but I'm going to just tell you about Ben Wallace because man, this guy was undrafted. He led the Pistons to a championship in 2004 over the Lakers. Sorry, Ken.
I get it.
And he's probably most widely known for starting the Malice in the Palace with his shove of Ron Artest. That was crazy. I think that's the memory that will stick in everyone's mind. The fact that he wore also like headbands around his bicep. Like get that through your head, guys. Like he wore a headband.
No, man, those were belts. Those were belts.
That dude was a chiseled individual, and the fact that he was only 6'9", guarding guys like Shaq, Alonzo Mourning, whoever, Patrick Ewing, it didn't matter. He was an ultimate defender and an unbelievable player. Not on the offensive side. Let's gloss over that part of it, but he was an amazing defender.
Oh yeah, 100%. I'm surprised you actually didn't choose Chris Bosh, the former Toronto Raptor.
No. We're salty here in Toronto.
Okay. Are you salty with Vince Carter also?
Hey man, let's not open these wounds.
Okay.
Still too soon.
All right, man. How about you, Ben? Who's your favorite inductee to this class of Hall of Famers?
I'm gonna go with Big Ben as well. Big Ben Wallace.
Okay.
His story is really an inspiring one. He's a guy who just maximized his talent and showed people that if you work on your game, you defend every play, you try to rebound every ball. And it's not about getting 30 points, 40 points a game. The contribution that you make to your team and the impact that you have on the game that really matters. And I think that's one of the key aspects as to why he's definitely deserving to be included in the Hall of Fame this year. And it's a great example for these young kids who only see highlight reels and offensive plays. It's your work ethic could really carry you a long way to your career, like Dennis Rodman as well. I think Dennis Rodman started that, and I think it embodies as well with Ben Wallace. I think that's only the thing I remembered aside from what happened in the Palace, in the Malice in the Palace. I think he's really his work ethic. He's very undersized for a center, but he really dominated the game during their championship run. And
100%.
Pistons Bad Boys 2.0. Right? That's what I call it.
Right. Yeah, man. They're a scary group, man. The two Wallaces, and then you got Chauncey Billups and Rip Hamilton, another former Wizard.
Tayshaun Prince.
Yeah, Tayshaun Prince. But yeah, great picks, guys. For me, I don't like Paul Pierce, even though he was a former Wizard. But I guess he does deserve to be in the Hall of Fame. But my pick for my favorite player has got to be Tony Kukoc. So it was actually Michael Jordan who inducted him into the Hall of Fame in this class, which is pretty awesome. And he thanked Michael Jordan, saying, "Thank you for kicking my butt in Barcelona in the Olympics," to give him a taste of what it's like to be in the NBA, pushed him to be a hard worker, and was able to find success with the Chicago Bulls. So Tony Kukoc definitely.
Kukoc in today's game would be absolutely insane.
Exactly, because now we praise these international players. Like these guys, at that time, there was not a lot of international players in the NBA, so that's why Jordan and Pippen literally picked on this guy when they played him in Barcelona. But now a lot of international guys are getting the respect that they deserve. 100% agree, Ken. Tony Kukoc would be pretty nice in this NBA modern age. But great episode, everyone. On behalf of our panel, thank you so much for joining us, and be sure to tune in again next week. And make sure to visit our websites at eaglenews.net and eaglenewslive.com. Make sure you like us on Facebook and to follow us on Twitter at EagleNewsPH to join the conversation. From EBC Sports International, I'm EJ Gonzalez. We live in interesting times.